For generations, they waited for belief, for this moment. At Hard Rock Stadium, Indiana finished the impossible. 16 wins. Perfect. 4th and 5. Quarterback draw. Fernando Mendoza. Touchdown, Indiana. The defining play of a perfect season. Indiana defeats Miami 27-21. Built, not given. This is Hoosier Football Tailgate Live, and it starts now.
Got to get to the 8. He's going to take off and run. Mendoza weaves his way, first and goal, diving toward the end zone. Touchdown! That's where he won the Heisman Trophy.
Has felt the confetti before. Can he do it again for Miami? Takes a shot. Interception!
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Tailgate Live here on thehoosier.com. I am the coach Shannon Griffith, and I appreciate you joining me this hour to recap and look back at the national championship that Indiana has now secured. Overall, the national champions of the 2025-26 season in historic fashion, 16-0, first team to ever go undefeated, 16-0, and win a national championship. As you could hear in some of those clips, the roar of the crowd, which is by far a pro-Indiana crowd there at Hard Rock Stadium. I would say a good 65-35 split, somewhere around that. Indiana Hoosier fans were well represented in Miami that night, and a game that I thought was one of the better national championship games that we've seen in quite some time. Each team delivering punches and blows and getting off the floor and continuing to battle. That game was as hard hitting a game that you'll see. Guys making plays. You had some maybe some things that should have been called that were not called in that game. It was just a perfect evening for the Indiana Hoosiers and how they did it, and very gutsy performance by all in that ball game. And to cap it off the way they did, sure is a quote unquote Cinderella story, I guess you could say, that the explanation point was added on Monday evening there at Hard Rock. If you have any questions tonight, by all means, please put them into the comments box. We want to try to answer any and all those questions that you may have, or just regular comments. By all means, please feel free to do that. Also, if you go to the link tree on my bio of X, it'll take you to the Fanatic storefront, which I will be updating as soon as possible with national championship gear that you can go there and purchase. And I do think they're running a special now. If your order is over $29, it's free shipping. So I will get that updated and link published so that you can go to there if you want to grab any of the college football playoff attire, I should say, or gear that you can have for this monumental game and historic win for Indiana. We'll get that taken care of later. And also remember, on Saturday at noon, they're going to have a celebration as of now in Memorial Stadium, although there is some inclement weather approaching. And just to be aware of that, for those that are intending to go, just be on the lookout for that inclement weather. It sounds as if now it may not get start until Sunday. with the significant snows. So they may be able to dodge a bullet there in Bloomington by having it in Memorial Stadium. They want to get as many people there as humanly possible and have it outside. And if you're going to go, you may want to pay attention to Indiana's website, or the athletic website, I should say, or their X account to get any updates there may be for that on Saturday. But it's going to be a very fun Saturday there in Bloomington, especially with everything that is going on with that in that aspect of things. New Life, great to see you. Yeah, you can get. I'll get that link up shortly for the championship gear. There will be no Fernando tonight. As much as I would like to have Fernando on here, he's got better things to do, signing autographs everywhere. Very high demand, but overall, the game was just a monumental performance by Indiana. And it was one of those games that it was really, quote unquote, never in doubt, I guess you could say. Indiana got out to a 10-0 halftime lead. And then, of course, Miami got the big run from Fletcher, the running back, that kind of brought them back in it. But Indiana, again, using all three phases to wrap up a game, including the block punt by Kamara that Isaiah Jones fell on in the end zone, was, I guess you could say, the straw that kind of broke the camel's back there in Miami. And after all in all, you got to tip your hat to not only Miami for what they were able to accomplish, because they were a really good football team. I was very impressed with Miami. I would say when you look at, they do the star differentials, what they can consider to be the competitiveness or athletic ability of one team versus another based upon the recruiting stars. You'd have to say that Miami had a good number of talented players. It's going in their lineup, and I don't think Miami's going to go away in terms of their ability on the field, because they have some talented kids playing for them. And the Fletcher kid's back next year, be an early Heisman Trophy favorite, I would imagine. Malachi Tony, again, kid is phenomenal. He's fast. He's just amazing to watch. But Indiana, again, regardless of who they've been up against, have been able to rise to the occasion and make the plays they need to make to win a game. And they did that again on Monday night. And that's what championship teams do. They find a way to win games, and they do it by finding ways in all three phases to do it. And they did it on Monday night in that respects. But a couple things we get started here to talk about. Again, I mean, with all the good that's surrounded the program here in the last 24, 48 hours, there's also been some sad things that have occurred in that respect. You talk about, winning a national championship and everything that goes into it and everybody that's needed in that respect. It's a sad thing to see a player such as Alberto Mendoza decide to go into the portal and has committed to go to Georgia Tech. And this is what I said on the other night about having the good and the bad of the portal. You have to take both sides of it and kind of go with the ebbs and flows of it, because the situation that Indiana found themselves in. And I know that when Alberto and thought process was that once Fernando came in and he left after a year to go to the league, that it would be a natural, I guess you could say, thing that he would become the guy at the quarterback position. And then Indiana goes and takes Josh Hoover from TCU, who's thrown for over 9,000 yards and has played 3 straight years in the Big 12, is probably going to be the next year's starter. I think Fernando found that being a frustration for him and wasn't willing to stick it out and compete at Indiana, figuring that the writing was on the wall. And so he went to Georgia Tech, where they do not have an official quote unquote number one quarterback at the present time. And he'll have every opportunity to compete for it at Georgia Tech. That's not to say that that same option would have been here at Indiana. But I just think he felt because they went out and got a guy that had this, the amount of experience that he had, that it was pretty likely that Josh Hoover was going to be the starting quarterback. Now, I've heard some people talk about the potential of him going somewhere and then coming back to Indiana after 1 year. I find that very, very unlikely at right now. So that in itself is probably not going to happen now that he's gone to Georgia Tech, and we'll see what happens at Georgia Tech. I mean, you never know that things there could not go the way he anticipates them going, and then he finds himself in the same predicament next year. But again, that losing Alberto does create a problem for Indiana. It creates a problem in their depth at quarterback. We do not know about Tyler Cherry, where his status is there. And then after that, you've got basically first-year quarterbacks, Bell and a couple walk-ons there, I believe, that there is a deficit there at the quarterback position. And now Indiana will probably have to try to find a portal quarterback to potentially come in and be a backup, and probably going to have to take a chance, and hopefully they find somebody that has more than 1 year that can go out and compete and so forth for that. But it does create a problem at that position when it comes to depth, because if you have Josh Hoover, that's fine, but you've got to have that number 2 guy that you can trust and rely on, like Indiana did this year. If something were to happen to Fernando, they felt very comfortable with Alberto, and I think everybody did. Now that option is gone, and what we don't know with Tyler Cherry is if he's coming back, from that knee injury. There has not been any indication that he isn't. And does he provide that necessary depth at that position that you're going to need? Because the quarterback position is one of those positions that any play, anything can happen with it. Let's see. Who wants to follow your Heisman brother? Alberto would have always been. Yeah, I get that. I mean, there is some of that to that truth, but in all honesty, I would say the Alberto and all that, I don't necessarily think he would have thought two shakes of it if he was going to be the guy, to be compared to his brother in some respects. I think he would have treated it as a bad option. Nonpartisan college. I'm glad to do the internet. Coach is a special one. Well, Matt, appreciate you stopping by. You're always welcome here at the tailgate, and appreciate the aspects of Indiana winning the national championship. It does create a kind of a new era in college football, potentially, for those that maybe have not had the success or necessarily have ever won a national championship, a path to do that now, and a blueprint kind of how to do it. Now, you can't always duplicate a blueprint like Signetti has, but it does show that with the right cast of characters and the right coaching staff and things of that matter, you can go and potentially win another, another possibility of a championship. Yeah, losing the strength coach did hurt. Losing Owings, he was a special individual. He was with SIG for 6 years. He done a great job at JMU, and then, of course, here at Indiana. And the kids just rave about him. But believe me, SIG will have a plan. He'll find the next guy that will be good, or if not better than, and they'll move forward with whatever they have to do with that. So, again, with Alberto, it's just one of those things that it makes it very difficult in this era of college football to try to recruit freshman talent at the quarterback position and never trying to give that kid the ultimate chance to go prove himself and win the position when you can go out and, I guess you could say, bring in uh, a kid that's been a starter for 3 years as a hired gun, and risk upsetting the apple cart, so to speak. And that's kind of what happened, as did with the other two that left prior to the national championship game, Boyd and I can't remember the other young man's safety's name, when they brought in the kid from Wisconsin and another kid at the safety position. That's what happens. You risk upsetting the apple cart in that respect. And, at some point in time, especially at the quarterback position, I do believe at some point in time, you've got to live with what you have. Now, if that's not going to be your avenue of approach, then you're going to risk finding yourself shorthanded in some respects in terms of the quality of depth that you may have that position, like Indiana has right now. And it's a big concern. And they're going to have to figure out what that is going to be because of it. Let's see here. One quick question. I have not heard anything about Charlie Becker. I would assume Charlie Becker's coming back because he's going to be one of the top receivers in the lineup next year. And I just don't see him going to any other place in that respect. So it's one of those things that I don't see him bolting to go anywhere else. What do you know about Wilson? I'm not quite sure what you're referencing there. New Life? Give me a little more meat on the bone there, because I'm not quite sure what you're referencing there. But I do expect Charlie Becker to be back. Also, now that we're well into this, the portal and such, the portal has kids that were in the playoffs have an additional 4 days, I think. I think the portal officially closes maybe on Saturday in that respect, of those that are going to intend to go. Indiana also lost a lineman, Lawrence, I believe. They lost him to the portal as well. He played some this year, but he also decided to go to the portal as well. So we'll have to wait and see on that. I'm sorry to hear New Life. Wilson is the quarterback. Don't know much about him. And I would say that because my attention has been kind of the here and now with some of this, and I'll be diving into that as we get going here in this off season for sure. When it comes to recruiting, who we've got coming in, I'm going to do something on Hoover as well, and we'll probably expand on the quarterback position even more so at that time. So kind of stay tuned on that of things. But again, it's hard to see that go with Alberto, but again, it's now a true business. It never was said it out loud. It was kind of tongue in cheek. And I think now we can officially say this is a business, and Alberto made a business decision. And so you have to accept that and move forward and see what all comes about of it when the dust settles in that respect. If any of you go into the celebration on Saturday, I know the weather, I made mention of it earlier, and I do think the majority of the heavy snow, it looks as if now, is Sunday related. Not to say that Saturday is not going to be a snow event. It will be. So if you are planning on going, you may want to give yourself some extra time, perhaps maybe even going a day early, spending the night, maybe 2 nights, depending on what the weather does. If you're planning on going down there to Memorial Stadium, I'm sure it's going to be a great, great thing with everybody involved and what they've got planned, and a great celebration of all that as well. we did speak about this, brought it up earlier, the strength coach, Derek Owens. And again, as much as you talk about players that you lose in the portal, losing coaches by the normal ways that usually transpired, like he did to Tennessee. Derek has had a previous relationship with Josh Heupel, so he knows him very well. And he decided to make a move after being with Signetti for 6 seasons. And I'm sure Sig tried to do everything humanly possible to keep him at Indiana. But when you have a relationship with somebody like Josh Heupel, and I'm sure they could probably pay a little bit more, even though Sig could have matched it, at the end of the day, he chose to move on. And yes, that is a loss. Like I said, the kids raved about his, what he meant to that program, because strength coaches have actually more time with the players than coaches do. And they're a vital, important part of your staff. But I trust that Sig will go out and hire the next best thing that you can find out there on the market, and bring him into the fold, and he'll do just as good, if not better, than Derek did. But the strength coach is a definite important piece of your staff. And there's no question about that per se. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and hit the notification bell as well to get all the updates of when we are going live, and continue to do that. And we'll kind of talk about the schedule before we go tonight, about what we will do from this point forward. Now that we're kind of transitioning into the off season, we'll get a chance to do all that here in a second. But let's see, any other. Yeah, exactly. I think we all can understand that. No question at all in that respects. Robert says snow to start about 2 p.m. in his patch area. Yeah, the South, I think in southern Indiana, down around the Ohio River, you guys are going to get hammered in that respects. Let's see. Yeah, I'm sure they did, as Jason says, about 1.5 in that respects. And that doesn't surprise me. It's amazing what these strength coaches, and like I said, it's a very important role on staffs now with these strength coaches, because they do spend a lot more time with your athletes than the coaches do. And he's kind of the first aspect of things that you go to get your team bigger, faster, stronger. And Indiana, and a lot of practical purposes, has been a team has stayed away from the nagging injuries, like the pulled hamstrings or groins or things of that nature, ankle sprains. And a lot of that is attributed to the strength staff and what they do there in terms of working core and flexibility and all that. But we'll find out what we're able to get in return now that Coach Sig will have an opportunity to go out and get one hired. I'm sure he'll do that as soon as he possibly can. I know right now they're working to finish up any recruiting that they have left to do. And of course, you got that signing period here in February. It's kind of the end all be all to the recruiting aspect. But we'll have to see overall in all of that aspects of things as we head into all this. But when you get to this thing of the national championship, and there's always a moment in a championship game when your belief kind of turns into the reality. And I said, for me, in that game, when Indiana blocked that punt, that was kind of the moment that things kind of took over, and really you started thinking this is going to come to fruition about them being in the national championship. And the other one, I think, as well, could answer that in that ball game, was on 4th and 5 inside Miami's territory. Sig had all but decided to kick the field goal. But at that time, a field goal, 3 points, wasn't going to overly help them a lot, other than make, a touchdown beat him, per se, at that time. So once they took the time out, he got the confidence to go for it. And he was pretty adamant about it. And to make the call that they did on 4th and 5, to do the quarterback draw, and to see Fernando basically, like you said, put his body on the line to get the ball in the end zone. I mean, he had the first down within the first couple steps that he got up the field. But the blocking, the plays, the turns, the, taking the shots that he did on that play, you got to say that was the call of the year. And definitely one that will go down in history in that ball game as it being a huge moment in a ball game that Sig decided to make the choice to go for it. And there wasn't one person in that huddle that did not believe that that was going to go for at least the first down. And getting in the end zone was just the icing on the cake at that point. But those two plays, I think, were kind of the moments in time, you could say, in a game that you had to look at and say, man, that was the when you really started feeling it as a potential national championship win because of what those plays meant in that regard. But, again, like I said, Miami, they were able to, they came back, they fought back. Malachi Tony became, like I said, a huge chapter in that game, running the ball, passing to him. That kid is electrifying. The Fletcher kid's a beast. Miami's offensive line, I think, was better than I thought they were. I mean, I didn't think they were horrible by all knows, but they were better than I thought they were. And actually, they blocked things pretty well, especially in the pass protection. Indiana just could not get home at all in that game, with the exception of one time when Fisher got free and made that sack earlier in the game. After that, Beck had a lot of time back there, and he was able to do it. And he hurt Indiana a couple times because of that time to, throw it around. But they are a team that is a very capable team, and they'll be heard from again. But Indiana never blinked. They never blinked in that game, in that respect, and that's for sure in that aspect of thing. They never flinched. They never let any moment in that game consume them. That belief that Sig, kind of drills in them 6 seconds of play. You play the next play, you forget the last play, and all those things. Indiana never blinked once. Well, I think once we get everything settled portal wise, get all the recruiting settled, we'll have a better understanding. And then those that are announcing to go to the draft, we'll have a better understanding of what Indiana will have back, especially offensively and defensively. And because like Carter Smith could come back. We don't know if he's going to go to the league. Cooper, another one, is in that boat as well. So there's some things there that could impact what Indiana does or does not coming back next year. But we'll have that pretty much settled here within the next week to 10 days as they continue on looking for potential upgrades at all the positions, as we know. And, we know that, I'm pretty self-assured that D'Angelo's going to the draft, as Brian has just stated. Yep. And that's not a surprise. Him going to the draft does not surprise me one bit. he needs to go, because I'm not sure that there's, after winning the national championship for a kid like that, he might as well look at that next level to see if there's a chance that he's going to be a high draft pick or not. His only thing that's against him will be his size. But I think there's enough tape to show that the kid is very smart with his size in terms of, how he uses it and plays with the size that he has in defense. And he showed it again at the game on Monday night in that respects. In that aspect of things. So we'll see. I mean, those are the things that we'll see with it. I mean, if I had to guess, like I said, D'Angelo, I think Cooper will probably go if his draft evaluation comes back positive. That's the thing. If his draft evaluation comes back in a positive light, he goes. Now, if it doesn't, then he may come back for another year, because he's probably going to make more money by staying than going. And then Carter Smith, same thing. I think he goes as well. But again, it's all going to depend on, what their draft rating is going to be. And that makes a huge difference in that respect now with the NIL and such, because sometimes guys make more by staying than going to be a 5th round draft pick, 6th round draft pick without, any guarantees. So you got that to consider that as well. When you think about the final top 25 was released, it came out the other day, as we can see there, Indiana, Miami, 1, 2. You got to say the College Football Playoff Committee got it right when you talk about Miami. In that respect, they were able to get to the final game. And I know there was a lot of debate on them and Notre Dame and Alabama and that, so forth and so on. But you got to feel that they got it right when it came to Miami. Ole Miss, number 3, Oregon there at 4 and 5 is Ohio State. So in the top 5, Big Ten has 3 out of the 5 spots, and 3 straight years that the Big Ten has won a national championship. I think that settles the case as who is the most dominant conference in the nation right now. It is the Big Ten, in that respect. So it's going to be interesting that we now are beyond this. And Paul Feinbaum did have his mea culpa moment where he finally uttered the words that he was wrong. And, I don't know if I believe it or not from him, but right now you got to say the Big Ten is prominently right now one of the best conference in college football. But I will say this, I don't necessarily get wrapped up in that stuff at all, because things are so fluid now in college athletics that things can change on a dime. And just like conferences, you could be, top to bottom real good, and then the following year, not good at all. But you got to think the Big Ten has a chance to be a pretty dominant things. You got Matt Campbell that's coming into Penn State, very good coach. He won with less money and everything at Iowa State. Now that he's going to Penn State, that has something that he never had before, which part of it is deep pockets. You got to think that he's going to fit in quite well there in Happy Valley. And then Fitzgerald going to Michigan State. I think both those coaches immediately elevated the Big Ten stature because of how good a coaches those guys are. Now, I will say this, they're going to find out pretty quick that Cignetti's kind of set the bar in terms of doing something at a new school within a 2-year window. And if they don't accomplish that, there's going to be questions to be answered, because I think every AD, president, and board of trustees or whatever are saying, how can Indiana do what they did in a 2-year period with a 62-year-old coach that they got from a G5 school? And here we are spending all this money on name guys as our head coach or whatever. And we haven't even sniffed a national championship. So you bring that. Yeah, New Life, that's correct. And Whittingham at Michigan. Those are three top-notch coaches that have been brought into the Big Ten that are definitely command instant credibility overall. And Kyle Whittingham, same thing. Even though he was at Utah, he never really had a great budget at Utah. I mean, he was always at wit's end with the AD out there and the president, for that matter, because they just weren't making enough investment within the program. So now he goes to Michigan, where they have very deep pockets, and you got to think that his style of football and the way he coaches things is going to be very good for a Michigan team. So those three coaches definitely brought in a ton of credibility into the Big Ten and what else we have to offer in the Big Ten because of what we already have. And, Indiana's now kind of rise through up the top. You're still going to have Ohio State. You're still going to have Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State. You can throw Iowa into the mix as well. You got a makings of some really good Big Ten football teams, including Illinois in that equation as well. So the Big Ten is going to be a big time conference for many years to come in that respect, in that regards. We're going to step aside here real quick, hear some from Fanatics as well as Academy Sports, proud sponsors of the Hoosier Tailgate, as well as the Hoosier.com. We'll be back with more of Hoosier Tailgate Live right after these messages. Hoosier fans, listen up. This is the coach, Shannon Griffith. And if you're gearing up for the game day or gearing up for the holidays, the Hoosier Tailgate storefront on Fanatics has everything you need to rep the cream and crimson in style. From official Indiana Hoosiers game day apparel, hoodies, hats, and sideline gear, to tailgating essentials and accessories, this is your one-stop shop for all things Hoosiers. And with the holidays right around the corner, it's the perfect place to grab cold weather gear, stocking stuffers, and IU gifts for the whole family. And here's the kicker. When you shop through the Hoosier Tailgate storefront, you unlock exclusive discounts across Fanatics. More Hoosier swag, better prices, and gear you won't find anywhere else. Ready to load up your cart? The link is easy to find. Just head to my Hoosier Tailgate Twitter page and hit the link in my bio. You can also find it in every YouTube description and all of our Hoosier Tailgate podcast episodes on your favorite platforms. So don't wait. Rep the Hoosiers proudly and save big. Visit the Hoosier Tailgate storefront on Fanatics today, because the best fans in the Big Ten deserve the best gear in the Big Ten.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets. You ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors? Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back to Hoosier Tailgate Live. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. We appreciate you being with us here on this national championship look back from Monday night, and having a chance to be there and see it in the live aspect of it was kind of an interesting setup. Normally with the media, they put them in the press box, and at Hard Rock, their press box is not very good, to be honest. And some of those that were in the actual press box made their way up to where they had the open air press box, up in it was kind of in the left-hand corner of the stadium if you were looking out from the sideline to the left of the 50. And you got a full taste of the environment, the atmosphere, the fans, everything. It was loud. And again, like I said, I thought it was a good 60-40, 65-35 split, Indiana fans to Miami fans. And, but a great environment, to witness, that type of game, and also being able to get on the field there as the time was running out, and did have a chance to speak with Brian Haynes. And again, I think so much of Bryant just because of my relationship with him over the years, but hell of a job that guy has done, as has Shanahan done all year. Those two guys have really done a fine job, of, coordinating each side of the football, and they've done it all year. And they're deserving of any accolades or awards that they would be given, and maybe someday head coaching opportunities. I know that both of them are not, you know, worrying about trying to be the next head coach somewhere. They kind of like what they're doing now and who they're with, and that's a smart thing, because to be a head coach at some point in time will be at the right times for each one of them. So it's kind of surprising that neither one of them, as we know of, had any opportunity of any of the jobs that were open. You know, not to say that they would have been a choice at Penn State or any, because it seems to me the trend now looks like they're have gone to more head coaching experience as opposed to coordinators, and most of some of these P4 jobs out there, with the with the exception of the few, South Florida, took Hartline from Ohio State, but I think they'll be head coaches in due time, and when that right spot hits them, it'll be something that they'll look forward to doing, and all that aspect of things. Let's see. Since every time during the broadcast, they're very hard to see ball placement. Yeah, they were in the corner as well. I mean, like I said, Hard Rock is not. It's amazing to me because that's where the Dolphins play. It used to be the old Joe Robbie Stadium, now the Hard Rock. That whoever made that design of that stadium, what they did with those press boxes and how they did it did not make any sense at all, because most press boxes and coaches boxes and all that are right on the 50-yard line, and they extend. Some of the bigger ones extend to about the 25, 25, 30, 30 when you talk about size and, height and width. And when you get placed in the corner, it's hard to see. And that was kind of the case for a lot of the crews and broadcasting it, that they had tough time seeing at the different angles and stuff. So, Roger, hey, Coach, at the start of the year, I told you that Mendoza reminded me of Roger. Yeah, very true statement there, and very kind of in the stock and build as well, because Staubach was never a big quarterback. He was kind of built like Mendoza was, and had the escapability and ways to contort his body in certain ways and such, that he was able to do a lot of things in his era, and kind of like what Fernando was able to do. And it'll be interesting to see, as I think most know, that Las Vegas Raiders had a big contingent at that game. Davis, the owner, and of course Tom Brady was there as well, because he's a minority owner in it, but he'll have a lot of say when it comes to choosing a quarterback. And everything that has been out there and published so far is that he will be the number one pick in the draft, and that number one pick belongs to the Los Vegas Raiders. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out here in the next few months. But it'll be interesting in that respect, as well, as we look forward to all this. When you look at the heroes of that night too, again, I don't think there's any question that, Mendoza was kind of a hero in that moment. But the play of everybody on that offense, including the offensive line, even though they gave up 3 sacks, I mean, Bain is, that dude's a man child. I mean, it was going to be a tough night anyway for them to make it. But you got Charlie Becker making big catches on 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 7 in that game. You know, Cooper had his fair share of receptions, as did Surratt. Now, you know, they didn't get any big time down the field throws in this ball game as they had accustomed to. But again, I thought they all did admirably, but definitely Mendoza, kind of the hero of the night to a certain degree. The defense, I guess, you know, that'd be hard to single out one player because, you know, D'Angelo plays consistent as well. Fisher played good. Of course, Sharp has the big play. We'll talk about that here in a second again. But, you know, when you look at all this, and then you say that Coach Sig would have the cap in terms of making that call to go for it as opposed to kicking the field goal, the one that led to the touchdown the touchdown score by Mendoza there. Those were all big time calls, big time plays in that game that made a difference. But the thing that it's remarkable for me in a certain respects is the fact that, you know, being 16-0 and how hard that is in any sport. In football, you just have minimal amount of games. And to do that is so rare. And to see a team like Indiana go 16-0 and win a national championship, it still kind of blows my mind to a certain degree. But this team and what they were able to do all year long, when they face adversity, Penn State making a play, Iowa making a play, you know, they always were in a position to make a play. And when that opportunity presented itself, they did, and they did well. And it wasn't too long ago on a 3-9 team that lost, I think, was it 7 games by a score or less, because when it came to make a play, they couldn't make it. And 2 years later, we're talking about the plays that these kids made because of their competitiveness and their belief. And it leads to a 16-0 season and also the national championship. And it's amazing how the game of inches that coaches refer to all the time, in some respects, comes to fruition in a team like this, because they were all but down and out at Penn State, as everyone thought, except the 11 guys on offense that just drove the length of the field to get the touchdown like they did. And the same thing happened at Iowa. And it's just amazing what this team has accomplished this year. You know, on top of that, the Big Ten championship. I mean, the first time since 1967. It's just amazing what these guys were done and how they changed how the nation now views Indiana football. Even the people in the state of Indiana, how they view Indiana football. And while there are many that jumped on as the train was moving, which is fine, it's kind of neat to see some of the older, wily veterans that have been with this team forever, the season ticket holders and such, that have suffered through, you know, years of hope and expectation to be brought down by, you know, underperformance or wasn't their year, so to speak, finally get a chance to see a team that lived up to the hype and did something that nobody thought they could do. And the one person that thought it from the day one was Sig. I mean, you know, he came in day one and he kind of made it sound that the image of Indiana football was going to change. It was going to change quickly. And whether you like it or not, you better find a way to get on board, because the train's moving and we're starting now. And that was 2 years ago about this time that the train started humming down the track. And 2 years later, he's got a national championship under his belt. But with that, of course, it raises expectations, because he's not going to be one to shy away from wanting to do this again. I mean, he's not going to sit there and say, well, I got my one national championship. We can cruise here for the next 8 years. He's going to want it again. And I guarantee it, when the proper time comes to turn the page, which will come quickly, he's going to remove everything that's up about this team and the national championship, because the team that now is going to move forward has not earned anything. Although there are going to be kids on this team that was a part of the national championship, he doesn't look at it that way. He looks as a whole, and moving forward, the team that won the national championship is, done and over with. It's a new group coming in. And I've said this before, graduation is healthy. As much as you hate sometimes to see kids move on via graduation or leaving for the draft, or even leaving for the portal, for that matter, nowadays, it's healthy. It's healthy to bring in new blood. It's healthy to see guys move up the depth chart to get their opportunity and seize it. So this next group of Hoosiers is going to have a lot on their plate, expectations, but those are things that I'm sure Sig will make sure that they're on point with everything they do and what they've learned from this group of players that have come in here, like Aiden Fisher and a lot of these kids, Kamara, about what it takes to be a winner. They'll leave that legacy, and it will be carried on by guys like Isaiah Jones and some others in that respect. So, like I said, graduation is healthy, and this next team that comes into existence here in the next few months is, we'll find out what they're all about in that respects. When you look at the statistics from this game, and although it's not going to overly whelm you in terms of wow numbers, both offenses only had 342 to 317. Now, Miami did hold the advantage on that. Both quarterbacks completed 59% of their passes. Beck made one mistake on the night. Fernando didn't. Fernando threw for 186 to 232 in terms of yardage. Indiana rush yards at 131 to 101. It was tough sledding out there, man. It was tough. And, Indiana had some TFLs that hurt them in that category, but the third down percentages really came into play. Indiana was 6 of 15 for 40%, well under their seasonal average, but good enough in this ball game. And then you see that in Miami, as close as they were, that they were 3 of 11 on third down, right at Indiana's percentage of 27%. Indiana was 2 for 2 on fourth down, so that number got switched. Red zone, pretty efficient. Indiana was 2 of 4 on touchdowns in the red zone. And then the time of possession was huge again. Indiana had 36 minutes to Miami's 23-36. And that is kind of a crazy differential there in time of possession. And I said that Miami's a team that loves to live on the big play, and they had it. Monday night, they had 2 more big plays than Indiana did, and I can't remember the yardage, but there was a differential in the yardage of their big plays compared to Indiana's big plays on the night. So Miami, again, like I said, a worthy opponent, a worthy team. They were as advertised in every category that you can think of. And I really think that they're a team that has a chance to make some noise again next year because of the number of guys that they're going to have back. Now, who their quarterback's going to be moving forward, I don't know, with Beck moving on, but I'm sure they'll find a capable replacement in that respect. They've had 2 great quarterbacks over 2 years. They had Cam Ward, and then they had Carson Beck. So, I mean, their ability to find that trigger man has been something they've been able to do there pretty much all season. I want to get here to some of the takes of this game, of the plays in this game, I should say, and a couple things to point out as we go on here. But a couple plays here that kind of stuck in my mind in this game. Whoops, let's go back here. Is this, Indiana were running a lot of RPOs again on the night. And this was one that they end up getting a big play onto Coop. But again, the execution of the RPOs was huge for Indiana again in this game, and they did quite a bit of them. But this one here was a real nice one that they were able to sneak this slant route in behind the linebacker here, and this throw, man, thread and needle. And then the elusiveness of Coop is still one of those big things that he does. I tell you, Kaylon Black, this kid, gonna miss this kid. The way he ran in this game, just he was pretty much a big time threat, and he just ran his tail off and ran people over. Here is the hit that everybody's been talking about that did not get called. And to me, this is inexcusable that this wasn't called. It was even more inexcusable that the press box replay didn't phone down to stop the play to alert that there needed to be a review for targeting. So not only did the officials miss it, but the replay officials missed it. And that right there, this hit right there is targeting, as you can see right here coming up. That is definition of targeting. I mean, how do you miss that? I don't understand how that gets missed in the game like that. So that was what everybody was talking about in this game with everything. This was a big stop on 3rd and 2 that Indiana had in the second quarter up. They did a great job. Kamara got in there, and they really stood him up at the line of scrimmage. So that was a big play in the game as well. Another big run right here in the second half or second quarter, I should say. Again, Black, just tremendous night. I just love the way that kid runs. And then this was the first touchdown. Again, Indiana being creative, they bring in an extra tackle. They got the other tight end extra tackle here, put Carter Smith as a lead back to give the ball to Nowakowski as the fullback. And he goes back to his old fullback days at Wisconsin and gets in the end zone. So again, creativity in the red zone or in the goal line makes a huge difference. This was one of their big throws right after Indiana scored and going in before half where they missed the field goal. That was the only, play there that I think Lewis Moore got too far up in it. And I think he was the guy should have been traveling the overdrag there. That was one of their big plays on the night when you think about it. In the third we go. This was the play that got them back in 10-0 at halftime. So Indiana was well under control, but they run the outside zone stretch play, and Farrell is the guy that should be really. Fish went into here, so Farrell should be right here in that gap because he's going to force it back inside, but Amari should be the one that should be making his tackle. He takes a bad angle and misses the tackle, and 88 out the gate he goes in that respect. Bob, appreciate you coming by all the time. And again, we were talking about the Big Ten and how good it's going to be with all the new additions coaching staff wise next for the years to come. It should be a great Big Ten in the years to come. Okay. I want you guys to watch this play because I picked it up on film and I've even seen some talk about this specific play. And I want to show you something here. I want you to watch this guy right here. What happens is he pulls off and he's going to stand. You weren't going to see it on film over here. And what they had on was for my guy Tony to catch it and throw back over here where there would have been nobody on this sideline. But because the punt was so good, it negated an opportunity for this to happen. You can see him drift in there now. And because the timing of it got screwed up, they never got a chance to run it. So they actually had a trick play on here that due to the coverage and the kick itself, they were able to avert the play. And he would have never, fielded this ball down to where he did, because Indiana had it well coverage and there was no opportunity to do the throwback. And Indiana was able to make the tackle there at the 7-yard line. And this is the next play. Let's see. Not bad for a bunch of 30-year-old men never playing God. This next play is the block that Kamara gets. And again, it's just a great, this is the play that set up the third down play that kept him out of it. A great tackle there by Jonesy prevents this from being a first down. Indiana doing their simulated pressure stuff. And Fisher makes a great tack, as does Lewis Moore, and that set up the fourth down, which is huge, because the next play is the block. And this is the crazy thing. Indiana is in punt safe, which means they're just rushing 3 or 4 guys. This is not a block. This is just Mikhail doing a football play because he noticed something, that the kicker was coming way too far to the right, and he was able to get beyond the personal protector who whiffed on it and led to the block. So this was more about Mikhail just being an athlete and going to get it, and the kicker coming too far. And that was just a great play that turned the ball game. That completely changed the game in one play. And that was that play. Just crazy that happened in that respect. I want to get to this is a great play too. You just got to tip your hat sometimes to them when they make some of these plays that they do. And that was one of them there. This is a drive. Couple big plays here. Quick screen. Look at the blocking here outside by Noah Kelsey and Surratt. Just a great job blocking there on the perimeter by those guys to help get the first down. As we move down the field here, here's a big 4th and 5. Going to throw the back shoulder fade to Becker, who does a great job selling the route first and then adjusting to the ball. I mean, you just can't defend that. It's just, it's so demoralizing to a defense. And now here we go. This is the play that they end up calling. Quarterback draw. Miami is kind of confused with what they're doing, because they've got all these guys down, expecting them to throw it, and they're trying to double these guys inside here with those guys. And this was what they were looking for up in the box, and they said it was there, and they do a great job. And then, of course, Fernando does even a better job of just laying on the line. And this is the thing that got me was I want to get to this part down at the end here. This right here is what it's all about on college football. Dr. Mendoza and Mrs. Mendoza here, who has MS, he never stands in celebration. He is always there to celebrate with her. I think that, if that doesn't put a little bit of a tear in your eye, I don't know what will, but that in itself just signifies the importance of that. And she couldn't believe that he scored in that situation there. And then I want to go to the last play here real quick. Of course, let me see here. Oh, here it is right here. Indiana's in cover 2. This is a great job by this kid. He's got the flat, but as long as nobody's in the flat, he continues to sink with the vertical. This guy wasn't even expecting the throw, and he's got over the top help. So when we run it here, or I think I'm going to run it. Well, maybe not. I don't know what happened. You see how Jamar gets on his outside, and then he sinks because there's no flat defender here, and he's able to undercut it and make the play, which was just a phenomenal play, but very good fundamental defense. They don't have anybody occupying that, so there's nothing for him to cover here. So he just sinks with him like he's taught and was in a position to undercut the route. And this is where that kind of messed up, that he went to a one-on-one into a cover 2 look because he likes to go to the backside of trips all the time. So it's one of those things that Jamari does a hell of a job of getting in a position to make the play like he does here to end the ball game. And he did get a penalty, though. He did get a penalty for taking his helmet off there. But again, you got to give a kid a break in that respect. And outstanding catch, yeah, I mean, everything in that aspect of things. So again, a great thing that Indiana was able to cap it off in a game that was one for the ages and the great plays by coaches and everything. We have to figure out why Hosa Wheeler left. I haven't heard. So that is to be determined in that respect. So, well, just a update here. We're going to get into 1 day a week now that we're in the off season. That more than likely will be on Thursdays moving forward, and we'll have some different types of videos planned out for the off season, over recruiting wise, as well as looking at some of these portal transfers, especially like Josh Hoover. We'll have some of that as well. But I appreciate you guys being with us again tonight. Indiana Hoosiers, 16-0 national champions, something that we all probably would never have thought we would have said at the beginning of this season. But to see it in front of your eyes all the way through was pretty stellar to watch, and watch this team play. And the coaches do what they do best, is coach a group of guys to one common goal, and it ended up with the national championship. Like I said, tune in each and every week now as we go once a week on Thursday nights for Hoosier Tailgate Live. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. Until next time, we'll see you all right here on the Hoosier.com.